Hari Om. Myself Acharya Yogeshwar. I am again present here with the classes of biology for class 9. We have studied in just a previous video about fluid connective tissue. We have studied what are the different components of blood. Now, very simply, there is a question, what is blood? Then it will be answered, blood is a fluid connective tissue. What is the function of blood, or what are the functions of blood? Then we can easily say, first thing, its function is transportation, the second is protection, and the third is thermoregulation. That is, transportation of materials in the whole body is done by blood. It is the blood that flows in different blood vessels that carry different types of materials which are required in the body. They are supplied by the blood. But those things which are harmful or useless, these are present in different tissues. The blood collects them, carries them, and eliminates it either in kidneys or through the skin. The second thing is protection, and protection from foreign bodies, pathogens just like bacteria, protozoans, etc. There are different types of white blood cells. Those recognize those foreign bodies and engulf them, swallow them, digest them, and protect from them. As I asked you about CBC and told, in the same way there is a term TC and DC of WBC. What is TC and DC? TC, that is total count, and DC, that is differential count of blood, white blood cells. Why a doctor wants to know about TC and DC when you are ill? Actually, the doctor wants to know is the number of white blood cells is increased in our blood or in proper quantity. If its number is raised, it means there is infection in the body. There is the presence of foreign bodies, pathogens in the body. So these different types of WBCs are increased in number. The normal range is 4.5 thousand to nearly 11,000 per cubic millimeter in blood. And the third thing is thermoregulation, that our body temperature is constant. If its temperature is increased, we say that we are suffering from fever. So how our body temperature is maintained? The body temperature is maintained with the help of blood. Blood circulates in the body. The excess of temperature changes the water present in the blood in vapor, and that comes out by perspiration or sweating. And if there were no blood vessels and no blood capillaries, and blood would not flow in them, then it was not possible to regulate the temperature of the body. We have learned that there are Three types of blood cells. Among them, first is erythrocytes. What are erythrocytes? So erythrocytes are red blood corpuscles or red blood cells. These are the carrier of, erythrocytes are the carrier of respiratory gases. What are respiratory gases? Oxygen and carbon dioxide are respiratory gases. When we inhale, we get oxygen, and that oxygen is taken up by the blood. The red blood cells collects those oxygen, where in red blood cells there is a compound hemoglobin. That hemoglobin binds oxygen and makes a molecule oxyhemoglobin, and that oxyhemoglobin is carried out by the blood, by the red blood cells to different cells. There, those cells has eliminated carbon dioxide after cellular respiration. There, oxygen is released and carbon dioxide is taken up. Carbon dioxide is bounded with the hemoglobin and makes a molecule carboxyhemoglobin, and that carboxyhemoglobin is carried to our lungs. There, that carbon dioxide is released. In this way, a red blood cell acts as a carrier of these respiratory gases. You may ask why erythrocyte or red blood cell is red? It is due to the presence of hemoglobin. As the color of leaf is due to the presence of chloroplasts, and chloroplasts are green because there are chlorophylls there. In the same way, the blood is red because red blood cell is present. Red blood cell is red because hemoglobin is present in it. Then what is the shape of red blood cells? It is just like a disc, but such a disc which is biconcave, that is erased in the margin and dipped in the middle. So when we see it from the side, it looks like this dumbbell. It is actually the concave part, and from the surface it looks like a disc. The life of a red blood cell is 120 days. As this cell has no nucleus, it is called anucleate. As it has no nucleus, it has no ability to divide and make new cells. So each and every red blood cell is synthesized, it is formed, it is produced in our bone marrow. So when they born in bone marrow, from their life starts and they are finished in 120 days in our liver cells. And now I will ask you a question. What is the total count of erythrocytes in per cubic millimeter? of blood. You will find out it, and then tell me. What are leukocytes? Leukocytes are white blood cells or white blood corpuscles. Following are the different types of leukocytes: neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes. These neutrophils constitute about 62% of the total WBC. When we study about DC, that is differential count of WBC, we think about what is the percentage of neutrophils. Is it normal 62%, more or less? The basophils varies from 0 to 1% in normal condition. Eosinophils or acidophils constitute 2 to 5% of the total number of WBC. Monocytes constitute about 3 to 7% of the total number of WBC, and lymphocytes constitute 30 to 35% of the total WBC. So you see here, that is the major constituents are neutrophils and lymphocytes. When we observe a blood smear under a powerful compound microscope, we observe these different types of cells. Neutrophils have 3 to 6 lobed nucleus and granules in the cytoplasm. Basophils are 3-lobed, that the nucleus is 3-lobed and it has granules in the cytoplasm. Eosinophils have 2-lobed nucleus, and these cells also contain granules in the cytoplasm. So as neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils has granules, these are called granulocytes. That is, they have granules in their cytoplasm. Monocytes, these cells have kidney-shaped or U-shaped nucleus and no granules in the cytoplasm. In the same way, lymphocytes have a rounded or a spherical large nucleus in the cell, and it also has no granules in the cytoplasm. So monocytes and lymphocytes are called agranulocytes. All these 5 types of cells recognize the foreign bodies. They make antibodies to identify them and they kill those foreign bodies. In this way, these 5 types of cells increase in number, and so the number of total white blood cells increases from the upper limit, that is 11,000. And if the number of white blood cells increases in blood test, it is observed, then doctor is sure that the person is suffering from an infectious disease. There is some infection, and then he prescribes an antibiotic. If the number of these blood cells fall down from the lower limit, that is 4,500, if the number of WBC count falls down below the limit, it's very dangerous. It indicates that the immune system of the person is very, very weak, and he may suffer from HIV. In my knowledge, in case of AIDS, the number of WBC count falls down, and in other cases of infection, even in cancer, the number of WBC increases and increases.